Well, it's not only the hitting, because hitting a drum is of course really important, because when you play on a drum or on a xylophone bar or something like that, the thing you hit on, it starts resonating, and the way you hit it defines the way the resonating goes and how it sounds.
It's so lovely to meet you here on Zoom.
Yes, well, finally.
Yeah.
Finally we meet, no?
But that's great. But you're a percussionist, and yeah, and tell me a little bit more. And you where are you based?
Well, yes, I'm a percussionist. I'm based in Rotterdam, in Holland.
Mm.
And I studied in Zwolle in the Netherlands and in Detmold in Germany.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Amsterdam, and since a couple of years now I live in Rotterdam.
So did you grow up there?
No, I grew up in the east of Holland, in a small village, where I am now actually. And there I started making music and, of course, playing soccer and all those things.
Oh yeah.
So and after my studies, I went to the western part of the Netherlands. Yes.
Yeah, and do you come from a musical family, or where did this interest start in playing the drums?
Yeah, well, I'm actually before me there weren't any drummers in the family, but now actually I have a cousin and a niece who also play percussion. But before that, there were only wind players in my family. So my father played the trombone. And I have other family members who play instruments.
Okay, so it is, you come from a musical family, but what made you decide on percussion rather than the flute or or anything else?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know actually. I've probably in the village I grew up, there's also a drum corps, a drum line, and they also walk on the streets a couple of days a year. And probably when I saw them play, I said to my parents, I also want to do that.
Okay.
I think, yes, but I cannot recall the exact moment that I chose to play percussion, though.
Okay, but now percussion, this is always so interesting for me, because that is very broad, really. It's not just playing the drums. So tell me, what are the different things that you play, the different instruments then that you play that fall under this category?
Yeah, well, I think all the instruments where you have to hit on things are percussion instruments, actually. So also the drums, but there's a difference between playing the drums and playing like percussion, because drums is more like drumming in a band or pop, rock, jazz music, that kind of stuff, and percussion is more are more all the other instruments. So timpani, marimba, vibraphone, xylophone, all different kind of drums, smaller instruments. So yeah. So when you play percussion, you have to be able to play a lot of instruments, and a lot of instruments also have different techniques and way of playing them.
Yeah, because this is now what I'm thinking. So you really have to understand then the instrument to know then how to hit it, as you say, you know.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's well, it's not only the hitting, because hitting a drum is of course really important, because when you play on a drum or on a xylophone bar or something like that, the thing you hit on, it starts resonating, and the way you hit it defines the way the resonating goes and how it sounds. So yeah, that's really important. But before hitting it, there is a technique in how to hold a stick or a mallet or something like that. So yeah, it's quite a lot of things to learn if you want to play all the percussion instruments.
Yeah. So what would your favorite be? I mean, or do you have a preferred instrument?
Oh, Well, not really actually. I like a lot of instruments.
Yeah.
It also depends on where you play percussion. If you play in a symphony orchestra, for instance, then it's really nice to play, of course, the timpani because you have a lot of notes. But if you play in a chamber music ensemble, something like that, it's really nice to play with a couple of marimbas. If you play solo, of course, the marimba is really nice, or the xylophone, or the snare drum. So, yeah, I don't know. I can't choose.
Oh, okay. You like everything.
Yes,
But
yes.
yeah. And now, and the genres. So, do you do mostly classical work?
Yeah, well, of course, percussion is quite new in classical music. Of course, we know the music with the timpani and the bass drum and the cymbals or triangles, you know, that kind of stuff. But in the 20th century, percussion came more, well, not more important, but much more interesting to composers, and there were more instruments made. So yeah, if when people ask what I play, I say classical music. But of course, if I play the marimba, that's not classical music because it's maximum 50 years old. Of course, you can also play pieces by Bach on marimba. Then you play like a cello suite on marimba. That's also possible. But yeah, the genre is classical music, but it's not as old as like the normal classical music we or a lot of people know.
Yeah. And when and with the drums, is it? Do you also play, say, for instance, just drums like we know it, like in rock or in pop music and so?
Yes, sometimes I do. Yes. It's not my like my specialty, but yeah, sometimes I do. I play with artists or in a band, or sometimes in a symphony orchestra when they play new music, like pop, rock, or arrangements, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I do. Yeah. It's actually really fun, but I do not consider myself as a drummer, because if someone is like, if a drummer plays the drums, I'm always how do you say, I envy them because they can do a lot of things at the same time, and it sounds really cool and that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's not really my thing.
I spoke to Floris and the Flames from Belgium a while ago, and their drummer is so cool. I mean, he's just so chilled, and I just always think the drummer is always this chilled guy, you know. So of the group.
Yes. I think so too. But they have a huge responsibility in how the music in the band, how it goes, and the groove, and so yeah, they are the most chilled person, but probably also the most responsible at the same time.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah. So now, do you compose as well? I mean, or or arrange for the instruments and experiment a little bit?
Yeah, I do compose a little bit, but I'm not yet enough proud of it to share it with the world. So I'm still trying to improve my composing skills. But yeah, I have arranged a lot of music, like all the music for, like, let's say, for marimba or percussion ensemble, something like that. But no, yeah, my compositions are not really not good enough, I think. So I have to become better in it to show it to the world.
Maybe you're too self-critical. You should just put it out there.
yeah, I think that's also yeah, I know. But if you I think if you share things, you have to be 100% convinced of it, and I'm not yet.
Yeah, no, that's true. But so tell me now, you say you've got a cousin who's also now playing the drums, and so what is your advice for young for young students, you know, who want to pursue this as a career?
Yeah, I think it's really difficult. Well, in most of the times, if young people say they want to study percussion, I advise them to think really good about it, because well, also in Holland, but of course also in I think everywhere, it's really hard to play music and to be happy with everything that comes with it, because it's not that romantic and easy as a lot of people think it is, and you really have to live with that and find yourself a way in that kind of living. Yeah. So
and because your instruments are also not something, it's not like a violin, you know, that you have to have it in an orchestra.
No, exactly. Yeah. Well, but at the same time, in every orchestra there is percussion. So in a wind band, or in a fanfare, in a brass band, symphony orchestra, everywhere there's percussion. So there are a lot of different music styles you can play in. But yeah, at the same time, it's also a really big challenge, because if you want to play a lot of different percussion instruments, you also have to have them.
Yeah.
And that's a really big challenge for percussionists. And if you want to prepare for, let's say, for an audition or for anything else, you have to have all the stuff. And so, yeah, that's also a really big challenge. Well, if you play violin, of course, you need a violin. It's also really expensive, but then with one violin, you are set. And with percussion, it's a little bit, also that's a little bit harder. Yeah.
And of course, if you want to go somewhere, you cannot take everything with. That's the other thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I've been on tours through Peru, Mexico, and the United States, and yeah, every concert you play on instruments you don't know. So so ask a violinist to play a concert on a violin that's there on at the location, and you have the time to prepare a little bit and then play a concert. And I think, yeah, so as a percussionist, you have to also be really flexible and so that's, as a percussionist, that's a really big thing. If you want to play somewhere else than your own place, then how do you get your instruments there, or what instruments are there? And
so,
issues, small issues.
But tell me, Nick, are you the guy that would sit in the coffee shop and be tapping away with his spoon on his cup when the music plays?
Well, I think I have to say yes. But well, actually, last week I also did this when I was lunching with some friends, and they said, "Yeah, can you please stop?" And I didn't know that I was doing anything, so it's
okay. I can imagine that you do it automatically.
Yes, and so and if people say that they can you please stop it, I said, oh, sorry, I didn't know I was doing it. I will try to not do it. And so that's
later, 5 minutes later, there you're again.
maybe. Well, I think that's a percussionist kind of thing, no?
Well, I think that would be interesting to do that.
Exactly. Well, actually, I was in a bar a couple of weeks ago, and there was a trumpet player also with me, and he also did the same thing. And I said, well, that's mostly percussionists doing it. Yeah, I also have the same issues as you guys. So I think there are also other musicians who cannot hold their how do you say? Cannot stop drumming with music or something like that.
Yeah. Well, but now, Nick, tell me, what are your wishes for the future?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Of course, I have my personal ambitions, but at the same time, I also have to, well, see what is possible and what is achievable and whatnot. So that's really hard. Yeah. Yeah. So, well, I would. Yeah. Yeah. There are a lot of things that I have in mind that I would like to do, and what I'm trying to do. So. Yeah, a lot of different things.
But you're teaching as well.
Yes, I'm also teaching. Yes, I'm teaching to children and well, grown-ups, sometimes students at the conservatory. Yeah, that's part of my, well, not my job, but part of what I do. Yeah, a small part. Yes.
Yeah. And are you sporty? Do you do some other things apart from playing the drums and the percussions?
Yeah, well, playing percussion is already a sport, like physically, but yeah, I do a lot of different sports, like biking, playing tennis, soccer, running. So
well,
yeah.
Tennis, you're also hitting something, so that fits in
That's
well
true.
with your. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I see some same things actually. Yeah. Well, I didn't think about it like this, but yeah.
Yeah, there's a pattern.
Yeah, there's a small pattern in there. Yes.
Yeah. But now, Nick, can you do a shout out for a coffee shop or restaurant in your area that you visit frequently or that you hang out?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I don't have a spot that I visit. I try to visit a lot of different spots actually.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't really have a favorite. Well, I have a few favorite bars in Rotterdam, but yeah. But I don't have a particular coffee shop now in mind actually. I just try to, I just like to how to say, to try a lot of different places. So I didn't find a favorite yet.
But can you do a shout out for your own coffee? Do you do good coffee?
No, well, actually, I'm a more like a tea guy, so I don't drink a lot of coffee. But actually, well, yeah, no, yeah, not really. Well, I drink coffee sometimes, but I'm not a coffee expert.
Okay, but you drink tea?
Tea, yes, I'm a tea guy.
Mostly fruit teas or herbal teas?
Ginger or yeah, just like normal tea. Yeah.
Have you tried rooibos tea yet from South Africa?
Rooibos. Oh, well, we have, of course, in Holland the rooibos tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
There you see, you did a shout out.
A small shout out for the rooibos tea drinkers. Do you know the rooibos tea? Do you know it? Well,
I'm from South Africa. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, no, so I grew up with that. My children grew up with that. That was the thing that we drink like people drink water. We drank rooibos tea. Yeah. Well, Nick, this was so lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, lovely to talk to you.
Baie lekker om met jou te praat.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Het was ook heel erg leuk om met je. Yeah. Well, actually, yeah. Was it South African?
Afrikaans. Afrikaans, yes.
Afrikaans. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but have a lovely afternoon and thank you so much for your time.
Yes, no problem.
It was very interesting. And let me know when you're in Vienna.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. See you.
Okay, Nick.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye.